My name's Maria Orms. I'm an Air Force veteran, and so is my husband, and so are my 2 daughters. So we are an entire Air Force family. And I'm a computer network engineer. I have a master's in engineering, and I also have a master's in cybersecurity. And so networking and cybersecurity kind of go together. I'm running to be your next governor. I'm running to be your next governor because we live in a digital technological world that controls everything we do, whether you know it or not. And I believe we need a governor and an executive leader that understands the world we live in today, not the world from 20 years ago. So I started my career in the military, securing top secret military communication systems on projects all over the world. I was explaining to some people, I was in the Air Force, but they made me live in a tent. And I kept saying, I am not in the Army. But so I've been all over the world. I'd been to 14 different countries before I was 23. And what I learned was that the freedoms we have here in the United States are envied the world over. Even from countries that we think of very similar to our own, like maybe France, Spain, England, European countries. They don't have the same freedoms. And that's why everyone wants to come here. We used to take these freedoms for granted. I don't think we're taking them for granted so much anymore. And so as we have moved to the digital age, I believe that we have lost all of our constitutionally protected freedoms. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom against search and seizure. Those are all gone, I feel. And we're having to fight for every aspect of our freedom. So I believe the foundation of our government is crumbling. And so what I'm running on is what I consider the foundation of our freedom. So I say freedom, safety, and security. And I gave cards to most people, but a few of you came in after I handed these out. So if you need one, we'll get you to one. Government accountability and transparency. So how many people here know about the Colorado Open Records Laws, or CORA laws? So did you know that at the state legislature, they're sneaking into all the bills exemptions? Yes. Saying this does not have to follow CORA. This is not subject to CORA. And the PUC that's proposing that no one can have natural gas, they're also proposing doesn't have to follow CORA. So your government answering to you is going away. Thomas Jefferson said, when your government's scared of you, it's called democracy. When you're scared of your government, it's called tyranny, right? Where do you feel we are? I mean, how scared do you get when that legislature goes into session, right? Or when they start talking about your taxes on your home. So the other thing I have on here is individual home ownership. I am absolutely committed to this one, and I will tell you why. The settlers came here from Europe because they couldn't own land, they couldn't own their home, they were controlled completely. If they protested anything, they could be kicked out of their homes. And where do you go? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety and shelter is number 1. Owning your home is the American dream, and we have to fight for it. I've been talking to developers. I'm putting together an organization of developers to give me some recommendations, and assessors to talk about this. And what we found is that the average size home in Douglas County, for example, is over 3,200 square feet. My first home was 1,600 square feet. If I hadn't bought that starter home, I wouldn't be in the home I'm in now. The developers can't afford to build those starter homes because the tap fees coming from cities, from unfunded mandates from the state on water issues and other things, are so high that they don't make their money back when they build starter homes. And so I can't tell you how many times someone has said to me, I own my own home, but I don't know if my children will ever be able to own a house, right? Have we all heard that? And so starter homes, we have to make that, I think, the number 1 priority that we're gonna work on. The other issue is you're being taxed out of your homes. Yes. Vienna, Austria owns 60% or subsidized 60% of all housing in Vienna, Austria. Denver flew people over there to see how they did it. So individual home ownership is going away in this country. So I'm proposing what's called a primary home exemption. for everybody. So some of you may qualify for the senior exemption or a disabled vet exemption. I want it to be everybody for your primary residence. Maybe not your second home in Aspen, right? but your primary home to keep you in a home. And so individual home ownership, we have to fight for it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, going back to the government accountability and transparency. In the digital age, why do we even have to do KORAs? Why aren't files just posted for us to go look at? Because they're trying to hide stuff from us. So I'm actually on the commission at the Independence Institute. We're putting forth a ballot initiative to put it into our Constitution, because we don't want it to change no matter who gets elected, that they have to follow the open meeting laws and the KORA laws. So I'm part of that commission. We were going to have a call today, but I guess we pushed it off. You'll see it coming. They've already filed at the title board for it. And so I've been asked to join that commission, and so giving input into that. When we look at the digital age, I give personal cybersecurity data training classes. Your kids in school, and even if you use a laptop for homeschool, everyone's being profiled. In regular schools, they take iris scans, facial recognition, thumbprint scans. 10 or 20 years ago, Google came to our school districts and gave them all Google Suite for free. But they profiled all of them and gathered all that data. The surveys they're taking. Has anyone here heard about the Healthy Kids Colorado survey? Have you read the questions? Creepy. And I had someone who had a background in psychology look at them, and they said the first couple questions will be normal, and then the third question will be weird, but they get you in the mode of answering those questions. They ask you things like, do you have an adult in your life that listens to you? Do your parents respect your opinion? They take that on a computer. There's a digital footprint for that. How long would it take you to get a loaded gun? Who would you get that loaded gun from? The other thing that's happening is, this is from my training that I show people. I don't know if you'll be able to see this from the back row, but this is what's called a pattern of life. And I'll pass it around, yeah. And so what they do for all of us, big data absolutely has the capability to create a pattern of life for everybody. And they keep track of everywhere you go, everything you buy, what you do. This is a ruling from the DC Circuit Court that went to the to the Supreme Court and was upheld. And it says a person who knows all of another's travels can deduce whether he is a weekly churchgoer, a heavy drinker, a regular at the gym, an unfaithful husband, an outpatient receiving medical treatment, an associate of particular individuals or political groups like you guys, and not just one such fact about a person, but all such facts. So they upheld this ruling under search and seizure, the Fourth Amendment. Yet every day we have Fourth Amendment issues coming up with every technology that's being implemented everywhere. I talked a little bit about social media. Everywhere I go, people are like, how do we get more conservatives elected? So this is another picture. I'll hand this around, and I can hand this other one around too. You can look at this if you want to read it. This is what the image of a social network looks like, and every circle is a person. And what's happening, and I'll pass it around, Mary, is if they have someone running for office and they don't want your message, or if you're just trying to hold the government accountable, what they do is they do what's called shadow banning. And let's say I'm this person right here, and I want to touch every person on this map to get my name out, my message out, and to tell people what's happening. They will shadow ban me and hold me to just like 10 people. I had Tom Tancredo come up to me, and he said, Maria, I have a question for you. He said, I have 5,000 followers on Facebook, and when I make a post, I only get like 2 reactions, and even my wife doesn't see my posts. Yeah. I said, Tom. When I go to rooms like this, I always ask people, raise your hand if you think you've been shadow banned. You know why? Because I'm like, you guys are probably pretty smart. I want to know people that are shadow banned because you're calling out the government, right? So I feel And the reason why I'm running, again, it's because as we've moved to the digital age, I feel we've lost all of our freedoms. My husband and I have lived overseas. My daughter lived overseas for years. And we've served our country, and just like Kevin, when you're military, you feel the need to serve your country more than anything. You don't see people like me that go into public service because we can make so much more money. I mean, I have 2 master's degrees. I can make more money in the private sector, but we're a military family, and we feel that need to serve. And so I agree definitely with you on that, Kevin. And I want my freedom, and I want freedom for you. I met a woman up in Larimer County. She was my age. She was a Vietnamese refugee that came here when she was 4 years old. She's lived here pretty much her whole life. She's gotten married here, raised her kids here. She told me that she has chills with what's happening here in America because we're fighting for our freedom on every level. And she said, we're making plans to go back to Vietnam. She said, and we know if there's a world war in a heartbeat, Vietnam is going to side with China. We know that. But Americans have been free for so long that they don't know what it looks like when it goes away. Right? This group, I'm proud to say, I think you guys get it. I think conservatives get it, and I think especially this group gets it. But they're using technology to divide and conquer us. My slogan is Colorado Together. I'm purposefully only running on what I think is the foundation of our government and freedom because we have to come together or we all lose. An example I give about how they're dividing us and why your personal data is so important is the COVID shots. As conservatives, we all look at them and think, well, I get to control what goes in my body, and I don't trust the government, right? That's not what they tell the other side. And you have to remember, they're dividing you on social media, on Google results, everything. You're not going to see any of this. They put memes out to the other side that says, you don't believe in science. We cured polio with vaccines, and you won't get your vaccines. And you not getting your vaccines is putting my children at risk. They're pointing them at us and us at them. Divide and conquer. It has worked throughout history. So I tell everybody, don't hate your neighbor that thinks differently than you. We have to love our neighbors, right? But we have to come together for this. I get asked sometimes questions that are, maybe some of our more polarizing questions, and I try not to answer them because I need to reach everybody with this. This divide in our country is not organic. It's a strategy. And I don't want to lose my freedom, and I want to bring everybody together to understand that, to hear that message, and for all of us to say, we all want a home. We all want our government to answer to us. We all want our freedom.